welcome and welcome back. Today I am doing something dumb, which is perfectly on brand for me, but this is pretty bad. So I had a thought a while ago that because I love Rapunzel, it would be really cool to have a doll of her that's like movie accurate. Obviously, the Disney Store dolls of her have long hair, but her hair in the movie is significantly longer than it is on any official doll. And I thought to myself, how cool would it be to have a Rapunzel doll who has movie-accurate length hair? Some of you may realize how bad this is going to be, but here's the math for that. According to the wiki page for Tangled, in the movie, Rapunzel has 70 feet of hair, and she's 5'4". The dolls that you get at the Disney Store, like the classic dolls, are 11.5 inches tall. So when you... I can't believe that I have to say this. So when you do the math, that means that if I were to keep the correct scale, an 11.5 inch Rapunzel doll to be movie accurate would have to have 13 feet of hair. 13 feet. And I did do this math like 3 times to make sure that I wasn't crazy. I think it might actually be like 13.5, but I'm just saying 13 because like it can't get any worse than that. So, was that enough to stop me? No. I did some looking, and to really not my surprise, you can't buy like nylon doll hair or saran doll hair or anything like that, at least not that I could find, that's 13 feet long because no one needs that. So my solution is I'm going to be attempting to use yarn, acrylic yarn, to make my own wefts of doll hair and make a Rapunzel doll with 13 feet of hair. I don't know why I'm like this, but I just want to make my life difficult. So, I bought this doll from the Disney Store because I wasn't going to do this on my existing Rapunzel doll. Like, this could go very, very badly, and we needed a fresh start. The kicker is also that I've never, ever rerooted a doll head before. So not only is this my first time rerooting something, but I chose to do it with 13 feet of handmade doll hair. I'm an idiot, but this is the adventure that we're going to be going on. So this is what Rapunzel, looks like before. I just wanted to get a nice glimpse of her in the box as she is meant to come before I do what I gotta do. So we are going to be taking her, and this is going to be a long, probably very painful process, but we're going to give this doll 13 feet of hair. So I hope that sounds entertaining for you guys. I'm sure it's going to be frustrating for the people in my life, but we'll see how this turns out. Let's just get started. It's going to take a while. So step number 1, as you may be able to guess, is that I have to remove Rapunzel's existing hair. I do just want to say that I am taking this off and then keeping it for future projects because I'm sure that after I heal from this process, I'm going to want to do it again. So I am saving the hair that I'm chopping off here. I'm not just throwing it away because it is a lot of hair and it is perfectly good hair. So did want to say that. But yeah, we're just cutting her hair as close to the roots as I can. This actually might have been one of the worst feelings just because I knew that I couldn't come back from this. Once I did that first snip, the project was started and I had to see it through. So that was a bit of an adventure, but yeah, we are just cutting it all off, shearing it as close to the scalp as possible. Next step is going to be to remove Rapunzel's head with boiling water, so I'm pouring it in that mug there. Sorry about the weird angle, I have a tiny tripod and limited places to film, but we are just soaking Rapunzel's head in the boiling water for a moment to kind of soften it up, make it easier to pull off without damaging the neck peg, and then I had to do it off screen because I couldn't get a good grip, I'm sorry, but we pulled her head off, and there we are. Okay, wow, so a few things have happened. First of all, Rapunzel is properly bald now. You are meant to be able to go in through the neck hole and kind of yank out the extra glue through there. Unfortunately, that was not an option for me because nothing I had, needle nose pliers, jewelry pliers, anything would actually fit through her neck hole far enough to get to the plugs of hair. So that wasn't a thing that happened. Instead, I actually had to yank them out from the outside, which I'm sure kind of widened the holes. That's a problem for later. Anyway, so we did manage to get her completely
bald in the end. I had to do it off screen just because I was struggling so much and there was a lot going on. Then the other thing is, you'll notice in the background here is that I don't have a yarn. So I did say earlier I was going to be trying to use yarn wefts to try to brush out. That did not work. I'm sure it works perfectly well for shorter hair, but unfortunately for long doll hair, 13 feet of hair, it just broke no matter how hard I tried. So what I have there is embroidery thread. This is like a little test strand that I did to see how it would look and how it would brush out, and I think that it's going to be better than the yarn because it at least didn't break. Obviously, this isn't as long as it's going to be, but it is about as long as my test strands of yarn were, and it held up much better. So we are going to be using embroidery thread instead of yarn. I know that is a lot of difference. Sorry, it's kind of happening all at once, but there was a lot of experimenting off screen. Like I said, this is my first time ever doing a rerooting, so I was kind of trying to figure things out. So my apologies for not showing it, but that is where we are and that is what is going on. Bringing us to the rerooting proper. Anyone who knows what they're doing is going to make fun of me in this clip, and that is totally fine. You'll see here that I have hair on the needle. The needle is way too far down in the rerooting tool to be effective right here. And you're also going to notice that one side is significantly shorter than the other. So I kind of learned through experience that the needle was down too far. I also am just a person who I can like watch tutorials or read tutorials, but it just doesn't do as much for me as it might need to. I am very much a person who has to learn by making the mistakes. So this was the moment as I'm rerooting these couple little test strands into her head to just see what the rerooting process is like. This is when I realized why people who reroot dolls flip the strand of hair in half and go from the middle point. And it's because otherwise you end up with one side sticking out of the doll's head that's very short and one side that is very long. So I know I am a fool. I know that anyone who knows what they're doing, like I said, is just like shaking their head, especially watching me struggle here trying to get the yarn on, or the embroidery thread on the reroot tool. It's a process, but yeah, so this was basically just me learning my way through some ways not to reroot a doll head. Unfortunately, you're not going to get to see me really do it properly, but I just wanted to include this in here kind of as a what not to do, and also just, again, explaining my long journey to the end of this project. So as you can see here, I did eventually figure out how to properly get the hair, quote unquote, into Rapunzel's head. Couple of plugs, they were just test plugs. I did pop these out and then do proper ones later because these still had like the half short, half long. But we are figuring out this is progress. Look at her poor little bald self. So the rest of this is just going to be kind of update photos for you. I did end up having to do this on my floor, on the carpet, because I physically don't have a table that was long enough for me to kind of work on. So I vacuum. I'm sorry if that's gross to you guys, but that's kind of where I was working. So this was after the first set of reroots, kind of showing you my tools, the brush that I was using to brush out her hair. Also, I'm sorry if you hear my cat. She is very much in need of attention today. By this point, I had realized fully and completely that I had made a mistake. I can't really describe to you how difficult it is to work with 13 feet of anything, but when it's like little baby threads and you just keep adding more and more and more, this was a horrendous process. Like, it genuinely was awful. But yeah, these are just some photos kind of along the way. We're getting somewhere. And here we've come to our first knot. Despite my best efforts with the scrunchies to try to keep different sections organized, I ended up brushing out the section and just got a huge knot, which was terribly disappointing, but I couldn't do anything about it. So we did the snip. It was hurtful, but we did it. This was probably my biggest mistake of the whole project, which is shocking because I made a lot. This is how the hair should be parted. As you can see me running my hair there, along the hairline is all like one section, where I was rooting around like the hairline around the entire circumference of the doll head, but I didn't take into account the fact that she has a part. So I had to then take like that first little section and make an attempt at parting it into her part, and we ended up with another knot. So, woo! After having to take another chunk of the hair out with that second knot caused by my parting error, the finish line was in sight. Like, it was just the little back portion of her head we had to do, and I was so ecstatic that we were right there. We were almost done. Pardon my makeupless face, but I was just so excited to be done with the rerooting process. And also, I just thought it was really funny to show you guys like how I had her hair wrapped around my neck like a scarf. So this is after we finally finished rerooting. I literally was texting people, everyone I told about this project, like, guys, it's finally done. I finally have gotten past the hard part. So yeah, this was a real triumph for me. You can see kind of compared to the close-up shot that the hair is not smooth like all the way down. Frankly, untangling what is probably like 300 plus strands of embroidery thread that is 13 feet long, it just wasn't something that my meager hands were capable of. So the texture is not consistent throughout, but I definitely think that I did the best that I could. With all of the knotting that had been caused by the brushing, I did have to kind of snip the end a little bit, just sacrifice a smidgen of the length for the sake of it looking just a little bit better. But you know what that means, guys. This is it. Final step is reattachment.
Hey, yo, Rapunzel, let down your hair. Yeah. So here we are. I know I've said this like through the voiceover as I was creating this, but I really, really, genuinely can't describe how bad an idea this was and how much no one else should make the same mistake I did. This is the final product. As you can see, it is a little bit hard to kind of show you all of her because she has so much hair. Theoretically, it's 13 feet because that's what I like measured out in the process of doing this. We are going to measure it to get like a full, complete, accurate measurement. Okay, so we had to go outside. I'm sorry if the camera is not super steady, but we had to go outside to measure her hair properly because we don't have 13 feet of space in our apartment. So, oh no. I'm so sorry for the camera work. Oh no! Here, guys. I had to wrap part of her hair around my neck so that we could keep going. And this is what we call shoddy videomanship. I'm really sorry. Okay. If I get her and this, we can see probably through me having to cut all of this off. Her hair is actually 12 feet long. I'm holding the very, very end of it here.
I still can't. I actually can pull it.
Oh, there's more?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
I'll give you a little off the tape under. There we go.
Okay, I lied. It's 12 feet and 5 inches. So, we were a little bit off. It's not the perfect 13 that I was going for, but I'm gonna be really honest, guys. After doing all of this, I feel like I should still get points for 12.5 feet of hair. That's just me, though. I am highly biased, but like, that's pretty impressive. Look at that shadow. But yeah, so this is my custom Rapunzel. I do have another Disney Store Rapunzel to help you really see the difference. This is how she started. Definitely the hair texture is different. I was aiming for originally more of like a hair texture, but I think you can see now why that wasn't possible and wasn't gonna happen. But all things considered, given what I had to work with and what the goal in mind was, I do think that it turned out pretty good. She's not too bad. I will say that on the back, the embroidery thread definitely doesn't fluff out the same way that actual hair does. So she does have some spots where her hair is pretty thinly rooted. I was adding extra holes in her head other than just the ones that the Disney Store had produced, but frankly, I'm embarrassed to admit how much thread this took. And I was just at the point where my local Hobby Lobby and Michael's were getting sick of seeing me, and I did not want to have to buy any more and add any more. So I did kind of get to the point where on the back of her head, I was kind of just doing a little bit more minimal rooting. So
while I'm not telling you by any means to make a movie accurate Rapunzel doll, if you wanted to use embroidery thread for your own rooting, do keep in mind that it is like a little thinner, so you're gonna have to have more holes in the head. But I don't think she turned out too bad. She's a bit of a mess. She's definitely Tangled. She's living up to the movie title. But I mean, after all the hours that I put into this, I can't say that I'm not proud of it. But again, like, just don't do this. Like, I hope that this is funny for you to see, but really, really don't do this. We are gonna go and get some kind of, like, glamour shots of her off the balcony, so maybe you can kind of see just how wild her hair is. Reenacting the tower scene. I feel like if I drop it, something bad's gonna happen.
Find out.
Huh!
Oh my god. That almost touches the ground.
I did it, guys. I did it.
It almost hits the ground.
Okay, let's yoink her back on up. Woo! We got it, we're good. This is how she travels. Pardon the fireplace in the background. This is just kind of where I ended up. This has been exceedingly difficult to film given the length of things I must carry around. But I just want to kind of give you guys more of a close-up look at Rapunzel's actual face instead of, you know, just the 12.5 feet of hair. So yes, that is all that I've got for you guys for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed getting to go along the much quicker path to the end of this doll than I did. This took forever, but this is what we've got in the end. I hope that you guys did enjoy watching me struggle through this. Definitely let me know in the comments down below how you feel about her. If you need to roast her, that's all good. I can handle it. I know that this is just like a fool thing to do. I am gonna be making a Twitter just for the sake of like adding Disney, because why not? So I'll post that in the description down below if you want to go like my tweet saying Disney pay attention to the stupid things I do. But yes guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, your night, whatever it may be. And I will catch you next week in hopefully a more normal video. Bye guys.